Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of The Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I am Mr. Bennett with my partner, as always. Uh-oh. Hey, you muted, brother. You muted. You're not coming up. But while he's unmuting himself, this is what the power of Yes, but this is what the power of persistence can do. That's right. You can get it out. But this is what the power of persistence will do. If you keep pressing, if you keep asking, things will happen. And I am joined by this very handsome-looking gentleman who's taken the plunge and certainly has extended himself. Brother, welcome to the bold and the beautiful, the beneficent, benevolent ball brotherhood of the BMU network. We welcome another into the fold today. So I am very happy to be joined by my ball brother.
I'm talking. Shut the fuck up.
I think you're looking very good. You're looking very dapper. And it's not just me, folks, in the chat. First of all, again, welcome. Thank you guys for being here tonight. But again, let your voices be heard. Do you like this? The new Peter? You like the beard is also nice and trimmed up and whatnot. You were looking like Abraham out of the Bible there for a minute. But again, the beard is trim and clean. The hair. I saw a picture of R. Payne today. Happy shout out to our guy R. Payne. I think he's celebrating an anniversary. But he shaved off the beard and everything. Honestly, if you look at his Facebook, he looks like 20 years younger when he took all that facial hair off. Yeah, he looks great. And certainly him and his wife, certainly happy anniversary to them. I'm trying to catch where those guys are. I believe they're in year, I think 37, 38, something like that. I mean, they're really up there. So I'll join the 30 club with them, but then they'll be exiting out soon enough. But again, good for you guys to come in here tonight. Make sure when you come in, make sure you hit the like button. And on both platforms, go over to the Sparta HQ Network and consider hit the like button over there. Also consider becoming a member of the Sparta HQ Network as well as the Black Man Unfiltered Network. And certainly as we go through the show tonight, make sure you consider not only hitting the like button and enjoying the show, but also consider dropping a super chat to the show or a cash app to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. You see scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And lastly, certainly anything that you want to give us personally, you can certainly donate to either one of our cash apps that is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. But what's been going on with you? So I know you've been going through some changes, obviously not only the physical, visual changes here, but again, you got a new work schedule and whatnot. So how's that treating you? How you handling that, sir?
Kind of hit and miss, to be honest with you, bro. Is like I'm starting to get used to waking up at 3:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice. I get out by 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I have rest of my day free.
Yeah,
but I'm a night owl, so I like being up late, like you are. So that's it's temporarily, thank God. Once I crack my whip and get these guys where I need them to be, I can start trusting people to leave them by themselves to run a kitchen properly without me babysitting their asses. I'll be back to my old schedule. This is only temporarily, obviously.
Gotcha.
The weekend might stay the same because I don't have a breakfast cook under me.
Mm-hmm.
So being a breakfast cook, I gotta be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Gotcha. No doubt. So I want to welcome into our chat tonight also Brother Tom from Cleveland. Missed you on the Wednesday show where we're talking about the cuts. I mean, it's obviously Shedeur Sanders made the cut in Cleveland. And so I wanted to ask you, when do you think he gets starting reps? I give it maybe by game 5 or 6. Certainly when he's healthy, he may get in for reps for the Browns. But again, hope you enjoy yourself. Appreciate you being here tonight, and thank you for the support as always on all the channels here. Make sure the grill's on time. Amen. But good to have you here with us tonight. So let's get into this. We had a show last week. We were talking about divorce. And, certainly we always like to deal with things from a global perspective. So we showed you a lot of stats, a lot of statistics about the divorce rates and, how, again, we've been fed into this idea, like everyone's getting divorced, 50% divorce rate and whatnot. And, we challenged some of those numbers. We also looked at divorce rates around the world. And there's obviously a lot of countries out there that have higher divorce rates than here in the United States. And, but there was some interesting conversation that came out of that chat. One of them was started by our very own a white school podcast. She came in and she was talking about, the Judge Mathis situation and married to his wife for 39 years, and they were on the brink of divorce. From what I understand now, the latest is they're still together. They're still sort of working on it, even though the paperwork was filed. But it certainly got me thinking about the topic. Like the way she framed the question was the idea of taking for granted. Like he took her for granted. And that just her words on that kind of stuck with me a little bit. And then your own personal story, Peter, when you talk about your parents and just how sometimes your father treated your mother regarding like having certain things expected of her. And so both of those things were kind of just working on me like all week. I was just sort of thinking about it. And so when we were talking about show topics and whatnot, so I wanted to kind of continue this conversation and talking about what is the difference between when you take someone for granted versus having expectations. And we're talking about particularly in a marital situation. I'm kind of a traditionalist when it comes to it. I believe in not necessarily traditional marriage roles, but I think the roles have to be defined. And I'm kind of like The Rock when it comes to that. When he used to say back in the day, back in the Attitude era, he used to say, know your role and shut your mouth. And I'm kind of like that. Look, I don't care what the dynamic is between the two of you, but whatever that thing is, whatever you guys negotiate, I think you honor that. And I think you stick to that. Now, if there has to be a change at some point in time, that's why I think it's good at anniversary time that you guys get together and reassess where you're at. And if there things need to be changed or modified, I got no problem with that. But once things are done, then I think, as a husband, as a wife, I believe in duty. I believe in responsibility. So where do you draw that line? Where do you draw it? So this is a gray area for me. Where do you draw that line between taking someone for granted and accountability in marriage? Like, in terms of, look, you got a role to do, I got a role to do. Let's do our roles and let's get on with things. Where do you draw that line? When does it get dicey between the two? And so I wanted to kind of have this conversation tonight because a lot of times when people say, "Oh, you take me for granted," like there's no clarity for me. There's not a lot of clarity to that. It's almost like when people get divorced for like irreconcilable differences. Like there's no clarity to that. It's what specifically is the issue, so that maybe we can work through the issue. But if you just leave it in that gray space, you're taking me for granted or whatever. Well, if you're my wife or if I'm your husband, don't we take each other for granted from time to time? Isn't that that kind of goes with the job description? Don't kids take parents for granted? In certain instances. So again, if we're going to be in this relationship for the long haul, if I can't lean on my wife, then why is she my wife then? And vice versa. If she can't lean on me for certain things, why be married then? If you can't have that person in your life, that ride or die, that, there's going to be things that we both do, and there's really not a lot of argument about it. So that's kind of how I came into this conversation, wanting to have this conversation tonight. And again, like I said, there's definitely some gray. How can we make it a little easier for people to understand? And let's have this on. Also want to give a shout out to Marianne Constantine, as always, a #1 supporter. Thank you for being here tonight as well. And she commented from time, there's no way Mathis could have took his wife for granted when she didn't have to work and she started a nonprofit. She could have started a business, but the fact of Mathis, she's controlling. So again, that comes up too. I mean, is there such a thing? And where's the line? How do you, there's a lot of blurring there that I'd like to have some clarity on. So Pete, what's your initial thoughts on this? I got some slides, we kind of go into some points, just see some other perspectives on this. Cause I really had to look up, what does it mean to take your wife for granted or take your spouse for granted? That's something that I honestly never visited.
Take their other half for granted. Like doing the typical everyday stuff, laundry, washing the dishes, cooking dinner, walking the dog, or taking the kids. Most people say that's your responsibility. It's not my responsibility. It shouldn't ever be a responsibility. It's something you guys sign up together as a team. And when you forget it is a team effort, there's where the problems start falling in place. Great example. My parents, my father and my mother forgot it was a team effort. Isn't marriage a team effort, Paul?
It is, but my only pushback on you, and the fact that you went there with teams. Teams have roles, and with those roles come responsibilities. Okay. You got a basketball team, you got a center, you got a point guard, you got a forward, you got.
Maybe my wording isn't a
no, but that's the I'm glad you said it, because again, that to me is where a lot of the confusion is. Yes, we're a team, but teams have roles. If I'm the quarterback, I can't be the punter or the kicker or the wide receiver or whatever. When people get out of their roles, that's when you have dissension within a team, because people aren't being accountable to the roles that they signed on for. And not every role has to necessarily be equal. But people, I think, get out of pocket when it's a role that you don't think you want to do. And then it seems like once you get to that point, you may say, oh, well, you're taking me for granted or what have you. But this is what, I definitely believe you need to have the conversation. You're going to form this team, right? This marital team. There has to be a conversation about what's going to, what roles and responsibilities that each one's going to do. If you got two people doing the same job, then no one's going to be doing the job effectively. So I think that dynamic has to be defined, but then once it's defined, then get on with the teamwork and the things that you guys signed up for. At least that's how I'm seeing it. But continue with your, with your argument. But that's the confusion for me, because I agree that yes, you are a team, but does every team have to have everybody doing the same thing? But I didn't mean to cut you off, but.
No. You're fine, because I asked you a question. You didn't really cut me off. You really think about it. So, yes, I do think it is a team effort. Like I said, maybe my wording is not appropriate or correct, but you guys are in it together. Sick it to death, or whatever the saying it goes.
Yeah.
So people forget that. I see it all the time, including my parents. My father expected food be on the table. He expected my mother pick up his plate. He expected this, and not because he go, I work, I pay the bills, you need to do this, and this. And it does, even as a son to mother, sometimes we take her to granted. And that's the argument I get with her all the time. Like, yeah, you raised me, but it's my responsibility to take care of you. But she feels like she still has to get up in the morning, make sure, my lunch is packed, my coffee's made. I'm like, Ma, go to fucking bed. Stay in bed and just leave me the fuck alone. I understand that. I appreciate what she's doing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ungrateful, but she needs to take 5, maybe actually 1,000 steps back and just relax. But that's who she is. She can't do that, and that's taking it granted for, not saying thank you once in a while. My father has not bought my mom flowers in years, probably before I was born. Just buying a pair of flowers saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. I love you. I miss you. I care about you. Those little things go a long, long way. If you're making dinner for your wife, like, Paul, do you do most of the cooking in the house, or your wife does?
I don't do most of it. We pretty much split it down. I mean, I have my Sunday dinner that's been the standard for a number of years. On occasion, I'll do Saturday, but I would probably say she does the bulk of it. But again, I cook a lot of stuff for myself, because I'm a George Foreman grill guy. So for me, a meal is going to be some salmon or steak on the grill and some veggies or something. So again, she doesn't necessarily cook for me per se. Maybe no more than like once, maybe twice a week, but otherwise. And then she makes breakfast every morning. Every morning she makes breakfast before work. So I would say, in that respect, she definitely does the bulk of the cooking per se. But I would probably give it a tie if I look at just overall, especially if I throw breakfast into the mix. Yeah, she definitely cooks more.
Let's include are you a coffee drinker?
Once a week.
Okay. What's your breakfast in the morning?
My breakfast is always egg.
Like, what do you drink in the morning when you wake up? OJ, tea.
Honestly, it's kind of complex.
Scott.
It's like it's like a vitamin water type. So B12. It's
Okay.
apple cider vinegar. I make this concoction every morning. It's just a ritual.
So let's say your wife made it a habit to make it for you. You know,
Mhm.
you're in the shower, you shave your head, you shave your face. I think you should stop shaving your face. That's my opinion. But you doing your normal routine. You're getting dressed for work. You put your suit and tie on, your shoes, your watch, whatever your routine is, right? And you come
Mhm.
downstairs every day. Your protein shake is on the table. Let's use protein shake for example.
Yeah.
And at first, oh, thank you, babe. I love you. Go out the door. I'll see you when I get back from work. Text her today. Now, 6 months, you continue doing that. A year, 2 years. Now we're down 29 seasons, right?
20. We're in season 29.
Okay. After 29 seasons, you now like you kind of like one day she doesn't know, like, yo, where's my protein shake in the morning?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she look at like, I found you could do it yourself. And you're like, looking at her like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where's my wife?
Yeah.
You'd be thrown away. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. I would. And likewise for anything else on the flip side. You know what I'm saying? So like my man Time is asking it in the chat here. So just like she expected him to cut the grass, mow the lawn, fix the toilet, change the tires, or shovel the snow, those are duties also. So if I decided that I wasn't going to we got a big 12, 15 inch snowstorm out here, and I'm just going to stay in bed and be like, she going to come to me. It's like, look, are you going to dig? Because she's not going to get out there, especially not at her age. Whatnot now? Are you going to get out there, or are you going to call somebody, or what to get this to get this work done? Yeah, and if I didn't, and if I just said, oh, I just thought that you would do it this morning, she would give me that look, and in my view, she'd have every right to do so, because again, it is again, there are responsibilities, and there's also expectations that have been formed over time. There's patterns. I think marriage, in our case, it's kind of gotten easy over the years because, again, you don't have that ambiguity, or there's certain things that are not discussed because, again, it's expected that the other person will handle it. Now, if there's an issue, if she's sick, if I'm sick, if there's something that, yeah, absolutely step in, emergency, yeah, I got you. But on the regular, yeah, when I come down for breakfast, it's like it's such a ritual now. Yeah, I expect breakfast to be there. There have been a couple times I said, look, I just had to step out. I'll be right back. I have breakfast done in a few minutes. But if she's got an early appointment, she got a doctor's appointment, I can't do breakfast. She'll let me know ahead of time to say, no problem, I got it. But yeah, a pattern of behavior, of consistency over time, and then you just all of a sudden want to stop because you don't. And to me, it's not even about the activity itself. It's more so about the response to it. So to me, the thing that would irritate me or would irritate her is the response. Oh, well, I just didn't feel like doing it today. That's a head scratcher because, again, that's outside the norm. And I think once you start introducing those kind of things into a situation, into a relationship, yeah, then the lines start getting blurry. Or do we have to have a conversation? But there's other conversations I would rather have. There's certain duties and responsibilities I don't think we need to have a conversation about. You don't have to worry about me cutting the grass, and I don't necessarily have to worry about you making breakfast in the morning. But that's our situation. I'm not saying that women, that's your job is to cook breakfast, and guys, I'm saying you can flip it if you want to. I don't care. But the idea is, as long as you got the expectations have been communicated, then I see no reason why not to expect those things over time, to say that, hey, you lean on somebody. Like I said, if my wife can't lean on me for certain things, she expects to have the bills paid. She expects the mortgage to be paid. She expects certain things. If I can't do that, then what's the to me, it gets to I'm asking, what's the point after a while? Time again says, I would ask my brother, I'm referring to you, how many wrenches have your wife bought and believe your father likes soccer. How many tickets did she buy your husband for a sporting event or a box? So I guess she's talking about reciprocation, like when you were talking about, oh, your father didn't buy flowers or whatever, but did she gift him with something like a tool set or something that he may like?
Actually,
Over.
every time my mom would do Greece, she used to bring him like pajamas back or jewelry back, slippers. She always brought him something back from her trip to Greece because she knew he liked the products in Greece a lot better than the United States products. It's like, again, it's nothing wrong with that. This is preference, whatever.
Yeah. So, but even that's like a special trip. I'm talking about, because you're basically talking about the day-to-day stuff, right? Like I said, flowers every once in a while.
One of the things, like his favorite cologne is like my mom's favorite cologne is Eternity, Kevin Klein Eternity for men. That's my favorite. My dad's favorite cologne. He wears it all year around. I wear it once in a while myself, and that's one thing my mom always bought him every time he ran out. She ran to the store and got him something. And like she always made sure to remember, hey, you're my husband. You're vulnerable, but it wasn't a two-way street. It was always a one-way street.
Yeah. Tom, do you know I know Tia Mowry. That was a famous thing. She said she went on a live show and she said that she graduated from marriage. How's it working out for her? Yeah, I don't think she's necessarily thriving there. But again, it's like when people get out of, like I said, I don't mind roles. I don't mind even fixed ones. But again, let's have the conversation. So again, that's my responsibility as a man. I wouldn't want my wife shoveling kids. All my kids can shovel. If you set the tone for your daughter that sees me shoveling and cutting grass and fixing things around her. Again, like I said, I don't necessarily disagree with that personally, but I don't mind if the roles are reversed. I know wives who mow grass. That's not the issue. The issue is when you have been with someone for some time, you build up expectations over time or routines or whatever. Do you have, as the spouse, do you have then the right to then just on a whim just say, because I don't feel like doing it, do you have the right to back out of that? Or should you say, look, we need to have a conversation. Maybe my back is hurting. Maybe I got something where I can't do this as much or whatever, or whatever it is. I'm saying you need to have those conversations. And to me, that's to me, if you were talking about taking for granted, where you don't allow those conversations to happen, I think that's where you get into trouble. But I'm just saying, whatever those are, I think relationships, teams work better when they are roles that are defined and people go out there and do their job. Don't worry about my job. If the punter's coming up to me talking about how I could be a better quarterback, then we got a problem. And likewise, I'm not going to teach you how to punt. But that needs to be decided and discussed long before you're married and as you've been married. Like I said, my wife and I, we've gone through so many seasons. Now we're going into this season, we're essentially empty nesters. And there might be some roles and some responsibilities that may be changing because, again, we don't have the responsibility of taking the girls to dance practice or, bus trips and things like that. I mean, they're off on their own. They're doing a thing. My youngest, she starts work on Tuesday in the city. And my wife has been working with her to get her wardrobe together and everything to make sure that she's, makes a good impression day one. So that's what she's been doing for the past few days. So again, that to me is, there's no, we're going to have these conversations about, okay, what life is going to look like for us next year. And that's healthy to have. But again, if I can't rely on my wife that certain things are done, then I don't see where the security is. If I can't lean on her for certain things. And yes, of course, there should be gratitude. In fact, we're going to get into that. If we want to talk about taking things for granted, we'll get into, what are some of the things where you can take something for granted. I figured BMU would certainly weigh in on this conversation. If she backs out on expectations, do you have a right to back out on yours? So again, these are things that these are questions that are asked. Yeah, my father is from Panama and my mother's from Costa Rica. Women from those islands know how to grow fruit, plant their vegetables. That's their culture. And most island women cook every day. Yeah, there's a cultural aspect to this. I mean, now again, I'll ask you, being a Greek man. Now we talking about being in America. What is the dynamic like in Greece between a husband and a wife in terms of expectations and whatnot? And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I think a lot of times what tends to happen is you start to see how other cultures move. Like when you're in your own culture and there's a way, just like my man Tyron was saying, there's a way, there's an expectation, there's like, this is, as a wife or whatever, this is what you do. But then you start looking out and seeing how they do it in America, or you come to America and then you start seeing how things are done, or you watch television and you see how things are done and you be like, oh, maybe I don't have to do those things anymore. So I'm saying, from you as a Greek man you lived in Greece for some time, what's the dynamic there? The expectations between husbands and wives, and how different it is from the Greek American perspective. Have Greek women, have Greek men gotten more Americanized in terms of how they see roles? Is it much more defined in Greece from what you've been able to see over time?
In Greece, it's the old school way.
Mm-hmm.
The man goes to work in the morning. The wife goes to work. She chooses to. She comes home, cook dinner, does the laundry, does the housework. Man does whatever needs to get done. Take the kids to this and that. But he doesn't do a lot around the house. It's mostly yard work is for the man, barbecuing, grass, stuff like that. The outside work is for the man, inside is for the woman. So it's still very, very old school way. Now, if you're going to talk about Greek American ones, that's a little more different. It's more like here's like a 50-50 mix.
Mm-hmm.
But most Greeks are still old school way. I remember my mom, good example. My mom used to go to work. My dad used to go to work. She'd come home. She cook dinner, do the laundry, clean the house, do whatever her chores were. And then he'd come home, eat dinner, watch TV, and go to bed. He didn't do much when he get home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's completely different. It's a whole different world over there in Europe. It's like night and day.
Yeah. So Greek and Italian women. I had an Italian friend. You never seen in the kitchen. And the Jewish and Italian mom, sister, auntie will kick you out of the kitchen and they serve you. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a cultural component to this as well. I don't think there's a black and white to it. And we may look at another culture. That used to be a skit. I remember the Cosby Show. I don't know if you ever watched that growing up, but there was a show, like Elvin was on the show, and he had these expectations because, again, in his culture, he came from a Caribbean background, and in his culture, the women served the men. And so when he came in and he saw Claire Huxtable, who was, again, lawyer and all that kind of stuff, and it was like, he had, certain expectations and whatnot, and she would read him the riot act or whatnot and all that kind of thing. So it just shows that, culture has a difference. But the only thing I didn't like about it was, again, I'm not going to condemn another culture because, again, their women may act differently from American women. Because that's worked for them for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So who am I to judge that particular situation? But a lot of times that's what we do. You look at another culture and how they do things and whatnot. And yeah, it may give you some ideas. It may give you some perspective. But at the end of the day, it's like, are you in a happy home or not? Are you guys together or not? Are you guys vibing? So yeah, Greece might be a bit more old school, as you're saying, compared to Greek Americans, where, again, there's still a dynamic that you have to work out. And again, I'm sure that's across any cultures in America, whether it be Asian Indian culture or Asian culture, whatever it is. There's always that dynamic where you're seeing some of these quote unquote traditional gender roles being challenged. Now, again, I don't mind the challenge to the gender role. I want to be clear about that again. But I think whatever you guys negotiate, I think you have a responsibility to uphold it. I do. I just think, now, again, if there needs to be a change, have the conversation. But I think what you sign up for, yeah, I don't have an issue with that. So again, when I hear the taken for granted thing, that really got me thinking about what does that really mean? And I do have some slides here that kind of talk about this a little bit, and maybe we can delve into this. And some of these points you may agree with, and some of these things you might not agree with. Now, again, time, you go in some. We talked about Big Fat Greek Wedding. Not gonna go too much into. We actually had a show. Go back and look at our playlist. We actually had a show on my Big Fat Greek Wedding where we compared or contrasted what's reality and what's fiction. Because obviously there's some stereotypes there and whatnot. But
and every family's different. Obviously, like every American family's different.
Yeah,
keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure. But some of the things. So again, this was a blog from 2024, and some of the things. And again, this may factor in some of the things that you were talking about. Pete, but what happens when you start to take a spouse for granted, and that's also that can be kind of tricky. Also, I was literally talking to my wife actually just before the show, and we were actually talking about this very subject, and we talked about that how sometimes the fact that if you've been together for a while, and the other person isn't necessarily going anywhere, that can be a blessing, but it can also present a situation as well. If you don't watch certain things, if you allow for certain behaviors to happen because you think you can get away with them, then I think those are things that tend to can certainly cause some problems, because again, you're leaning on, oh, she's not going anywhere or he's not going anywhere, so you think you can say some things and get away with some things, but they may not necessarily be the healthiest things for your relationship. And so, and maybe also look at this show as, certainly for those who've gotten divorced or thinking about divorcing or what have you, maybe it's because of some of these things that if you maybe check some of these things, or if some of these things were addressed, then maybe you might be in a different position. So again, what happens when we start to take people for granted? What are some of the behaviors people start to see? One, again, we tend to stop laughing along with our spouses when they are excited about telling us about funny incidents. It's like you don't. So basically, I think you're kind of hearing them, but you're not listening. Is at least that's the way I'm taking the first one. They have something funny happen at work, something happened or that was exciting or whatever. They're sharing it with you, and you're like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? You're not engaged with that person. It's certainly something that I can certainly see being problematic. Another one here: we spend more time concentrating on laptop, mobile, housework, work for our families, entertaining others, etc. Again, all this focus on, again, not prioritizing the spouse. We start shifting our priority to our marriage, to an invisible system consisting of chores and kids. I can certainly say from experience, I think we definitely got into that at a point in our marriage where definitely it became more about the kids and the duties versus prioritizing the others. We don't apologize after we've yelled at our spouses, called them names, thrown insults at them, leaving them to stop hurting in their own way. We control our spouses and tell them what they should do or say or wear, whether they like it or not. Not sure about that one. We tend to forget that the other half is also making sacrifices, compromises, and adjustments to their lives in order to live in a peaceful marriage. I would say to that's kind of what marriage is. We start poking fun at our spouses in front of friends and families. I've seen that. I've never done that. I've hated when I've seen it, but that can definitely cause some issues. We forget special occasions. We tend to let out secrets from intimate conversations. We tend to badmouth our spouses behind our backs. We tend to keep our finances, feelings, and future dreams from them. And we forget to ask the basic questions like, how are you? And wait for an answer. So this is just a list. This is a Cindy De Silva from 2024. Some of the things that she pointed out that, could be signs of when you start to take your spouse for granted. A lot of these I agree with, especially when I start seeing people talk about their spouse. Like, I used to be in a situation at work where I was like, and sometimes it was like the sisterhood got together, when they're at the table and they're chopping tea or whatever. And some of the things said about their spouses or boyfriends or whatever were kind of like, dude, like, if I could record this and give it to you in terms of what they're saying behind your back. Now, they could be like, oh, I'm just with the girls, I'm just chatting it up or whatever. I'm just like very disrespectful. And, it was just sad to hear some of the things that are said. In fact, one lady, she was getting married to this guy. and she was talking about how things were going to go and be and whatnot. And I was like, man, if I can only reach, I didn't know who the guy was, but I was like, if only I can get this, record this and get it to you, my brother, you might want to rethink this situation because, this is how she's really, if this is how she's really feeling, then don't go into this situation ahead of time. But just based on this list, Pete, any of these things resonate with you in terms of how I can, how one is taken for granted, anything that, maybe personal things that you saw between your parents that you see out of the list here that you see?
See, poking fun, they did that all the time. In front of people and non people, they used to break each other's balls. So that's not how the relationship was.
Mm-hmm.
The arguments. I have seen them argue in front of people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the arguments were so bad it was not even funny. One of the biggest arguments they always had was financials. That's where their biggest one. I remember that some of the fights, they got really bad fights. Sometimes about where the money is. Why when I this is paid? Why isn't that done? And is always came about to money.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them I agree with 100%. I'm not going to disagree with you. Some of them, I don't know because I'm not married yet.
Yeah. Like I said, the one that kind of got me a little bit was, let me bring it back up to, so again, the idea that we forget that the other half is also making sacrifices, compromises, and adjustments to their lives in order to live in a peaceful marriage. But I think that's what marriage is. I think marriage is about compromises. Marriage is about, again, the two becoming one. So there is a portion of you, because sometimes I'll hear it's like, well, I lost some of myself in my marriage. Well, I think that's kind of what you do. You're sacrificing something for a greater good down the line. Because everybody can have, just like any sports team, again, if you have a bunch of selfish players on a team, you'll never win anything. Somebody's going to have to sacrifice something. But the question is everybody on the same page in terms of where we're going or what we're trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think that's where the communication comes in. Why are we doing this? And when that gets lost, when the sense of the mission gets lost, I think that's where you could sort of fall into these sort of pitfalls and whatnot, where you forget about what the other person's doing. So I agree with you when you talk about, why bring flowers, why give gifts, why say thank you, why all of those are important things. I would never not show gratitude for my wife to everything that she does. I mean, I think you have to feed that acknowledgement. Everybody wants acknowledgement. Even in a corporate space, I've seen polls being done in terms of what people, when you talk about work satisfaction, like what's the number one thing people look for? Is it more money? Is it recognition and whatnot? A lot of people chose recognition. Just, people understanding what you do and everything that you do to make things go. But where people get frustrated is it's like someone else taking either credit for what they're doing or not being appreciated for the work that they do. So absolutely, I think those are things that need to be done. But certainly, like I said, the bad mouthing thing, when I've seen that, I'm like, if I could pull a guy aside, it's like, don't do that. Oh yeah, she's not gonna mind. We just kidding or whatever. It's like, I would never, and I have never embarrassed or said anything about my wife in public, even if I, even if it was true. I never de-edify my spouse. Not even in a joking manner. I may share stories, but as far as the idea of just constantly sort of downplaying her in public, that's a no with me. That's like one of those things where if any of that happens, whether she did, and I don't recall if she's ever done that to me, but I don't do that to her. But I've certainly seen guys who've done that, and I'm thinking, bro, you shouldn't be doing that. That's a no.
You feel like it depends on the joke too, what it is about. I'll give you an example. Like my one of my exes, she was very short. She was like 5'1", 5'2" on a good day, which was wearing heels.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to break her jobs. Like, she's like, she had a big truck. I like, do you need a little stool? And she goes, oh yeah, that's a funny guy. And she used to know I was joking too. She was laughing about it too.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that is a okay joke around.
We have to have a conversation because, again, what you guys say to each other is one thing. What you say in public could be another, and what she's also sensitive to. Now, if she's sensitive, if my wife is especially sensitive about something, then absolutely, I'm gonna take that into account. Now, again, what you guys say in private, she can make fun of the size of your member or whatever it is. I mean, just whatever. But I'm just saying, but in public, yeah, that can be an issue. So I'm saying, but again, all those things, part of knowing and understanding your spouse, being engaged. So again, when the points he was talking about, again, if you're more concerned about being your spouse is trying to have a conversation with you, but you're on your phone or your tablet or whatever, you're watching TV or whatever, you're not engaged in the conversation. I think that's where I think a lot of things get missed, and you can wind up in a situation where, you know, you're out there saying things inappropriate, whatever, but again, have you been listening? So yeah, so definitely, if she's sensitive to something, yeah, there's certain things, like I said, are just not going to be, not going to be said. And you know, people can say, oh, well, he's just, you know, hyping. I said, look, I got the best wife in the world. Like I tell anybody from outside, I got the best wife in the world. Not disrespecting on someone else who may think their wife is the best wife in the world, but as far as for me, yeah, my wife is always going to be elevated certainly in a public setting. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. And those are things that is how generally I'm going to leave or people with the impression that that's what she is to me. And more times than not, she is. And so it's not like I'm faking anything, but it's about that kind of, you know, that kind of edification. Some may still call it pedestalizing, but, you know, but as far as putting down, you know, talking about Sister Maz, about his job, about her job, her career, her weight, you know, just whatever it is. I mean, you just do well just to stay away from those things. And a couple times I had to pull it out and say, dude, yeah, you shouldn't. Oh man, she know I'm kidding. Really? She may not blow up in the spot, but don't think that she's not going to remember some of that stuff if you take that stuff home. So just be mindful of that. So I got some additional slides here talking about, again, this is from marriage.com, 10 signs that your spouse takes you for granted and what to do. This was a recent article from June 2025. So again, so many things that we talked about already. They no longer dedicate time to you. You know, that could certainly, but they seem to have time for everybody else. You know, that could be a major issue when it comes to taking for granted. Again, your spouse avoids doing their duties. Again, I believe in duties. If one partner becomes sloppy about doing their part of the home, part of the home that both of you share, and just lets things slide without guilt, it reflects how they feel about the relationship. They might be dropping the ball, and it's up to you to decide if you want to accept it or fight for yourself. Yeah, so again, duties, when things are not done, that can be a problem. Or you just expect a person to pick up on the things that you were responsible for. Those could be issues. Your relationship, relaxed communication. Like I said, I think a lot of things can be resolved as long as the right things are being communicated. I won't go into all this detail here, but I think that's pretty self-explanatory. They flirt with others in your presence. Now, again, I don't know if this is a,
that's a no-no.
Certain cultures or whatnot. I've seen men do that. You know, it's not a, it's not even that the person is quote unquote serious, but the fact that they do it. You know.
So the Greek culture, it seems like and I had this conversation actually recently too with somebody, because we're very, we're very friendly people. We're, I won't say attractive people. What's the word I'm looking for? Affectionate people.
Mm-hmm.
So hugging is very normal. Touching somebody on the shoulder, a woman or man, is very normal. The little hand touching is normal. It's not a flirting thing. It's just how we talk. to each other. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And people from this side of the world say, "Oh, that's flirty," and like, her, no, that's how we are, and like that's how the culture is.
Mm-hmm.
So
will a Greek man like whistle at a woman like that? Maybe not here. Like that's not necessarily accepted here, at least not anymore anyway. But like in Greece, if you see an attractive woman walking down the street, where even a married guy, will he like whistle at her or something like that? Is that something?
Not a married guy, no. A single guy, he would absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Catcalling is not really a thing. Whistling is, but a married man, if he wants to cheat, he's going to cheat. Let's put it, just call it straight up. Bacon and eggs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But if it came down to just having a conversation of with a woman, they weren't saying like oh blah 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 my wife blah 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 blah. Like your wife, oh this is my wife. You always going to do so. This is my wife. This is my friend, my coworker, my whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's just different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Like giving somebody a hug could be we had this conversation recently too. Remember, giving a hug could be a flirtation thing.
Yeah,
some men are okay with it, some men are not. I don't give a shit about a hug. A hug is a hug. You know what I'm saying?
Right. What about looking? So again, you're with your spouse. There's a woman, exotic, beautiful, maybe half clothed, whatever it is, walking down the street or whatever. The guy looks back, or he looks a little too long, or whatever it is. How is that handled in how do Greek women take that, or that kind of thing? What is there?
It's a mix, actually. I'm laughing for a reason. You're gonna get a kick out of this one.
Okay.
So I remember I was at a beach once, right? And this woman was sitting, and she has this weird bikini. I think I told you the story. She had like a wire wrapped around her breast, right?
Oh, now I don't remember this one.
Yeah, she didn't have like the whole cover up. She had a wire wrapped around her breast, right?
Wow.
And her side of her breast was showing pretty much, right?
Right.
But her nipple was covered with a flower.
Yeah.
So I remember this cover going around. So look, her man looks, he goes, you know what? We were like, what the fuck? The husband's laughing his ass off. I'm like, and other people like look at him like shocked. So it could be either way. So some women I know, like I walking on the street and she turns around and like, what are you looking at? I'm like, oh, look at that fucking ass. That's a fucking big ass. I'm like, okay, I'm going this way. And the other half is like, you don't look around in front of your wife. I feel that's kind of you go into the disrespect realm. Like, don't look when your wife is around. Now, if you're at the gym, as I can't, do I need to say more than that?
Yeah.
Like, you have to look.
Yeah.
Like my bear is gonna be coming out of me.
Yeah. I mean, look, there have been times my wife's even called some women out, be like, look at that over there. And I'm like, what? It's like she'll call it out sometimes, maybe. So, but yeah, definitely that might have been a thing. Maybe in our dating, maybe. I mean, like, we be in places, be like, you just almost couldn't help, like, the look or whatever. But I think that might have been addressed during the dating thing. So I became a lot more conscious about it then. But I mean, look, if they're there, if they're in front of you, like, what are you gonna do? So I used to make a joke after a while. I would look at her and say, like we would see the woman coming, and so basically we would look at each other and be like, so how those Yankees doing? It was just like a thing with ourselves, like just change the subject altogether and just kind of let that pass. So it became like a running joke between us. But yeah, definitely the wandering eye stuff. You definitely do your best not to do. But again, there have been times my wife has called somebody out, but like, you got to be kidding. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's like, look over there, and so she's done that. Again, another taking spouse for granted when you're no longer satisfied sexually. It's not that the sex isn't present in your relationship, but one of the signs your spouse takes you for granted is that sex has now become all about them. They may expect you to do all the work to please them, but they're never interested in giving you a mind-blowing experience as well. I can certainly agree with that. I think we've talked about that certainly on yours, on your network, especially when we talked about is sex love. That love is not sex and sex is not love. And I know we had Bossman on. We were talking about that. And I kind of opine that in and of itself, that sex is not love if you want to look at it in the absolute, and love is not sex, but I think sex is a loving act. And I know for me, that's also like very important. Like if with my wife and I, like if either one of us is not satisfied, then that's a problem. Like we don't spend time just quote unquote getting off of one another. You know what I mean? It did like sex is a team sport with us. And so I'm not going to go into deets, but I'm just saying that is definitely something where her satisfaction is as important, if not more, than my own. And so, yeah, so if it's like if it's all about you in the bedroom, then yeah, I can certainly see that being a problem. That you're not being attentive to your spouse and their needs either side when it's that way. Your thoughts on this one?
I had this conversation actually recently with somebody, and I don't want to blow their spot up, but what I will say was they felt sex was their marital duty, and it wasn't pleasurable or enjoyable on both ends. One side was, one wasn't, and that was an issue. Where was communication? It wasn't not. Oh, let's do the hokey pokey on a chair or on a couch or whatever the case is. Like communication. If is an issue in the bedroom, let's fix that problem before we fix everything else. Because then the man or woman is going to start looking elsewhere to get that the fix. Let's call it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The satisfaction.
Yeah. You're
not having that communication. If it is granted, if you don't have that communication, like with you and your wife, let's say something is off in your sex life with her, all right? And like kind of like what's going on here? Knowing you, Paul, you're gonna sit down and like, yo, well, what's up? What's going on here?
Yeah, for sure.
Simple.
Yeah. But I don't mind it being a duty either. Like I said, I'm a duty kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like I think it's great when you're just like, again, the duties that you have to your team, the duties that you have to your office. Now, again, you can make your team environment or your office environment great. It can be a fun place to be in. It can do all those things. But I think once you start taking duty off of things and you just make it solely about people say cooperation or mutual effect. I mean, I think there's something lost. I think being bound to something is not a bad thing. And I think duty in a lot of respects has become a 4-letter word in a lot of people's eyes, but it doesn't mean that it has to be a drudge either. So like I said, I'm not saying all of one or another, but I'm like, what's wrong with duty? I think we need to kind of redefine a little bit, because I think societies, civilization is built on duties. But again, is the recognition there? Are you being then dutiful to the person who is also giving? I think that's what the issue is when that duty isn't reciprocated. And what you're saying here, it's like, yeah, it's great for you. What are you doing for me in this situation? I think that's when it gets bad. But there's nothing wrong with duty in and of itself.
Yeah, I totally agree with you with that. Yeah. And the thing is, duty's fine, but sometimes it isn't what you think it is too. So you have to still have that conversation sometimes.
Indeed, 100%.
If you guys are not communicating and having a conversation, there's where the problems fall in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Next one here, again, your relationship lacks appreciation. If your partner never expresses gratitude for what you do for them, it's a clear sign that love is being taken for granted. When people do not feel appreciated, acknowledged, it can lead to resentment and tension in a relationship. 100%. Again, I don't care how long you've been married, there should always be a thank you. Honey, can you give me a glass of, can you give me something to drink or whatever? Thank you. I think that's just something that, and in times where you take the time to express what you're grateful for to that person, whether it be on, not just waiting to their birthdays or anniversaries or whatever, but just in general, I think those are things that should be a constant part of your interaction. You know, so yes, you may expect certain things, but again, even in work, someone does something that if someone reports to me and they do something, I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to say great job. I appreciate what you did. That's just things that again, it just seems like common sense. And the thing that always gets me is, again, anytime you talk outside of like teams or work or whatever, everybody gets this. You know what I'm saying? Everybody gets it. But for some reason, when it comes to your spouse, it becomes a conversation for some reason. But it works everybody else. The respect, I think Tom mentioned this early in the conversation. Yeah, you know, your woman, you respect your boss, the way you talk to them, the way you do everything, how you treat your boss. But somehow you can't give the partner at home that same level of respect. So yeah, so a lot of times I have a problem with that, how we, you know, have that disconnect. What works in the office, what works on the team also works at home. And I see people who are very good, they know how to work they know how to work the system. But then when you're home, you treat everybody in the house like trash. And I just think that's you know, that's a recipe for disaster when you do that.
So I literally had this conversation with somebody the other day. It's funny how this is happening lately too. Just needed an event. And she thanked me right and left. Just, you know, thank you for letting me just talk to your event. I looked at her, you don't need to thank me. Just we do as human beings, you know, vent each other. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just need to vent. Mm-hmm. And obviously she's single and I'm single and all that stuff. So that's why it works very, very well like that. Sometimes you just need to vent. And that's a thank you comes out of that. Mm-hmm. Even my co-workers and all that stuff. Like I asked like somebody help me out there. They're like, "Oh, do me a favor. I gotta get out of here. Can you sweep up and mop for me?" He goes, "Yeah, no problem, dude." And I said, "Thanks, dude." And like I you know, obviously saying a thank you goes a long way. Like I always tell anybody, all my coworkers and my employees, don't expect it. Don't ask them, "Can you do it?" Come up to like, "Do me a favor. Do you mind doing X, Y, and Z for me?" Like, yeah, no problem. Yeah. They'll be more responsive and more willing to do that for you.
Yeah. Like I said, even if they are by the job obligated or have a duty to carry out your instructions, it just makes common sense. Now, again, you could be that slave driver sort of taskmaster type of person, just like I want it done now and whatnot, and never do those things. But I think that kind of thing, or even in the now, I don't know how it works in the military. Like that, like if a you know high officer, I don't know if they have that same level of respect that's there in the military. I wouldn't know.
It's a little different in the military because I don't have a lot of friends in the military, like you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If CQ is here or Coach Straight, they tell you to do something. If it's a senior officer, let's say you're a private and he's a corporal, it tells you I need you to do X, Y, Z. They have the way they their own terminology, obviously. Mm-hmm. That's an order. Or if you're in a unit, you know, when you're like in the unit, it's a little different because you're fighting each other, every day next to each other, each other's back. Mm-hmm. And it tells you to do something. So, you're not obeying. Like, listen, now that's a direct order. Mm-hmm. I'm not asking. Now I'm fucking telling you, you're going to fucking do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But now is that reciprocation? Like to say they do it. Is it normal for an officer to say thank you? To or they just salute and leave, and
not normal because it's part of your job.
Yeah,
you sign up, you swear an oath, you're gonna follow your orders no matter what.
Right, but it's not it. But again, a superior officer they're not shielded from doing that, right? Like if you give an order, the guy carries it out or whatever, and the superior says thank you. I mean, is that? They're not excluded from doing that, or it's just a practice for them, like not to do it.
It really depends what you're telling them to do. Mm-hmm. If you ask them to, hey, could you help these guys unload the truck? That's not part of your job duties. You're not supposed to unload the truck. Your job is to stay post there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And if it was like, it says, you know what? Yeah, I can help them. Because, thanks, they usually go out for last names, like, thanks, Bennett, you know what I'm saying? Or your nickname, let's say, BB, or whatever.
Yeah.
They might say thank you, but it's rare is far between each other. I have
Gotcha.
never heard a senior officer asking another officer or a soldier to do something as a favor. There is always an order. Doesn't matter the job or not. If you get a direct order, it's a direct order.
Yeah.
There's no, hey, do me a favor. Can you go help these guys? You know, they're kind of in a jam. And they're like, no. The only time you can say I'm thanking you is if they need like some kind of like air support or backup, and they're like coming in, blowing the fuck. Oh, thank you, God, love you guys, thank you. God, yeah, those say thank you. You just save their asses.
Yeah,
except that's it. Gotcha. Really, nothing. I have never seen them say thank you for just for doing
your job. Yeah, it just kind of comes with it. Yeah. 7 again, and this is where again I also saw, like I said, the difference again. We talked about not being grateful for the spouse of the previous side, not lacking appreciation. But again, your spouse does not take responsibility. If they never accept responsibility for their actions or attempts to shift the blame to you, it's one of those top signs that your spouse takes you for granted. This is frustrating and hurtful behavior, can eventually lead to a breakdown in communication and trust. It's like, yeah, I mean, marriage, I think, is a blend. It's responsibilities, it's commitments, it is duties. But again, so when what happens when someone gets off of doing what they were responsible for? Then how do you balance that then? So again, there's got to be that line between, yeah, this is your duty, these are things you need to be doing, based on hopefully a prior discussion, versus, oh, you're taking me for granted for doing these things. That's where it gets because again, everyone should have a role. Now again, what that role is, you decide what that role is. But I think, yeah, there are responsibilities that come with being a husband and a wife. And I think once a person gets off of those things, then yeah, you're going to have some problems. The next one, you are no longer your partner's priority. It's not okay to be the center of the partner's world sometimes, especially when you have other people like children, work, and colleagues to attend to. If, however, they constantly shove your needs down the drain, you may want to pay closer attention. Yeah, I mean, that's always a balance, right? Work-life balance. How much are you giving to, for if you're husband and wife, how much time that the kids are getting over you? When you don't feel like you're number one, a lot of times I talked about that last week on the show where my wife and I, where it got probably the most stressful because again, we had a lot of kids in a short period of time. And so again, it did definitely seem like the kids were just like on top of everything. Like if I felt, rightly or wrongly, I felt that a lot of my needs were being neglected. And so again, you started to feel like you weren't your spouse's top priority anymore. And it could have been, yeah.
Did you feel now like you're older, wiser, more grayer, kind of? Do you feel like that was a little selfish?
A lot, yeah, for sure. That being said, I felt how I felt. And I think that's one thing that my wife and I, what we really worked on over the years, to certainly create greater transparency, we accept another person's feelings, the other person's feelings. Mm-hmm. Except whether it's right or wrong, and a lot of times that's how if we do have an argument or debate or whatever, it say, look, it may be right or wrong, but that's how I felt. And instead of saying, oh, well, you shouldn't feel that way because of X, Y, and Z and break it down how that's wrong to feel, it's like, no, you have a right to your feelings. And if I was feeling neglected or she was feeling underappreciated or whatever the situation was, you have a right to those. The next step was the most important thing. Now, what are we going to do? You feeling a certain way about something, fine. I can't change that. You're in the space. You feel how you feel. How are we going to get beyond this? And a lot of it is just breaking down what was the issue, what was the cause, what was said, or what should have been said, what was done, or what wasn't done, and then change the behavior so it doesn't happen again. So, yeah, I mean, the way I was feeling at the time, feeling neglected, I'm not going to necessarily apologize for how I felt. But at the end of the day, yeah, it was because, again, as I said last week, I wasn't looking at what my wife was doing. She was exhausted. And rather than saying, hey, how can I help? It was just about me and my feelings. So again, that's something that you have to balance. You're entitled to your feelings. But at the end of the day, what's going to work to get this relationship back on where it needs to be? And that is what we had to work on over the years. So we don't invalidate the other person's feelings. We acknowledge it, but then we like, all right, what are we going to do from here? And that's always kept us going to the next level. What are we going to do from here? So in this case here, where you feel like your partner isn't prioritizing, they're putting in too many work hours, or their job takes them away too much, or what have you. We talked about having a show in the future, bringing some military guys on, because again, military marriages and whatnot, we know the high divorce rates there, and how do you manage all that when you're not home 75% of the time in certain instances, or you're deployed for long periods of time? How do you manage that when you're not around?
And that's another 50-50 mix too. Some women handle it. Like, I gave a great example. A few years back, I bumped into one of my old colleagues, and we're talking, we're bullshitting. She's married with 2 or 3 kids. I can't remember right now. Mm-hmm. And we were talking, and I don't remember how the conversation came up, but we came to a conversation about people in the military. And she goes to me, I'll tell you straight up, Peter, I couldn't ever do it. I could not have my man or my husband or my father or my kid be in the military and be away. I couldn't do it. I would have walked away a long time ago. If he told me he's in the military, this would have never happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a conversation. I mean, why, if you're a woman, if your person is in the military, about to be in that, and they could possibly be deployed, why would you stay in the relationship? Especially if being together is important to you. But a lot of times it's like, well, you feel you don't want to lose them, or whatever that situation is. Why would you stay in that particular? Particular situation? That's a question I would have, certainly for a military spouse, as well as for the person who's deployed. And even King, shout out to King from the King and Me show. Make sure you follow those guys Monday 7 p.m. on their network. He talked about that. Yeah, I mean, why have kids when you're going to be deployed for long periods of time? And he was honest in saying, like, some of that comes out of just selfishness, to think that you don't want to be in a situation where you have no legacy behind you, if I'm phrasing it properly. So he said, yeah, some of that comes out of selfish ambitions as well. But yeah, when your spouse seems like 3rd or 4th on the totem pole with everything that's going on, that can certainly feel like. And again, if you have an attitude, oh, well, she's not going anywhere, or he's not going anywhere.
You're wrong, buddy.
Yeah. And again, like I said, Judge Mathis, I think he even confessed that with his show and traveling and doing all these things, and he felt that she wasn't getting the time, whatever. So she's the one who filed, and he was like, "What? What do you mean?" But next one here, your spouse makes no effort to impress you. Even if it isn't often, our partners should make an attempt to impress us, especially on special occasions. If your partner makes no such effort, it could be that they aren't afraid of losing you. Consider reassessing your relationship at this point. I can kind of, agree with this one. I mean, now, again, I don't know if this was the case in prior generations, but I think it's a good idea. You're going out. Yeah, you want to look nice. We went out last night to dinner with my daughter. She's about to start, and we're about to go out, and I was like, actually, I want to put some. I want to dress up a little bit. And my daughter, she was dressed up too, so my wife's like, okay, fine, I'll put something on too. But yeah, when I'm out with my wife, especially to dinner, yeah, I like to look nice. I like to look handsome. I like to look still like a catch. You know what I mean? I don't like to go to dinner. Now, if we go into the local diner or something, that's different. But if we're going to a decent place and whatnot, yeah, I'll put some threads on. I want to be like, yeah, I'm with my woman, and I like looking good. I like showing her off, and I want the women to know, it's like, yeah, man, she's got a good catch. Yeah, yeah, I kind of get off on some of that. I do, you know.
I
There's
agree with
nothing.
you because getting just dressed up, just not going out just for your other half, it means a lot sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Turn around and like she walks by, she's getting dressed and like "Ooh,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
like, a little the boing going on there.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I like it when she dresses now again, she doesn't dress scandalous. She dresses her age pretty much, but yeah. When she's leaving in the morning, I'm like, yeah. You give her that look like, yeah. I mean, it's I say
you're not leaving the house like that.
I'm sharing the world, sharing you with the world, but yeah, I know that's coming home to me. So yeah, I mean, looking good, looking attractive, staying attractive for each other. Yeah, absolutely. I think those are important things. Yeah, I think those are wise things that certainly keep a marriage going. The last one here, again, there's zero affection. When your spouse suddenly becomes less affectionate than usual, it may indicate that they take you for granted. Affection is one of the primary ways people express love, so its absence can be concerning. Now, look, I know couples who, now again, it depends on what you mean by affection, because I know certain couples that, especially if they're old school, like they show zero affection, especially in public. You know what I mean? Holding hands and doing things like that. It's like, a lot of couples I've seen, like I said, especially old school, that they don't necessarily show that kind of thing in public. But nevertheless, though, it doesn't mean they don't love each other. But but I think people do it differently. Like like my wife and I will kiss in front of the kids, to their oohs and ahs and disgust. Now we don't do tongue anything like that. We don't go that route. I mean, we may threaten them. It's like we'll flash the tongue at each other and they'll run. We used to do that a lot. But we've never kind of made out in front of our kids. But yeah, a little, affection. Some kids, some old schools, like, no, keep it in the bedroom, lock the door. None of that stuff should ever be seen. So I would think there's a cultural component to this. I know there's cultures where, again, couples don't hold hands in public. I know that. So again, affection. I would put some of this on the culture and the cultural norms that are there. Now, were your parents, did they show in the good years, if that you remember, did they ever? Yeah, I mean, not everyone's into that. I mean, so
the only thing I ever see them have cheek to cheek kiss. That's it. Not like affection kiss.
But I mean, like even like put the arm around her or hold hands.
Never.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't necessarily. And again, obviously, it didn't end well. But I'm just saying, but I don't know if that's necessarily endemic to. Oh well, situation's bad. I just don't think it's appropriate, or they keep that behind closed doors, any kind of affection. So that one I can kind of be a little, especially now if you've been doing it.
Loves after I was born.
Gotcha. Yeah, same with mine. How about that? But I would say is now if that's something you're used to, now I can understand if it stops. So let's just say if they were lovey-dovey and stuff like that, and then it stops and they're not doing that, then yeah, that could certainly be as. But again, that gets back to what I was saying before. It's about consistency. It's about patterns. It's about how you fashioned a life over time and certain things that you expect after a while. So if you expect to kiss your wife before you go to work every day, or give the little cop the feel or whatever, whatever you guys do, pat her on the booty, whatever, and then that just stops over time, then yeah, that might be something worth, having a conversation about. Hey, are we okay? Are we in a good place? Why would that stop if that's something that you've grown accustomed to over the years? But if you've never really been that way, then I'm not saying, okay, well, I read this article and it says, okay, well, we're not affectionate. Okay, so let's start on showing affection. I'm saying you guys do what you do. If it's working, do what you do. But if there's a routine, because I think you've said that, right? Your spouse, you expect your spouse to give you, a kiss before you left or something like that, or
a kiss before I left and kiss before we go to bed.
Yeah, and let's say if you were doing that for years, and then for some reason it just stopped, or on occasion it stopped, or whatever, you're gonna pause after a while and be like, "Hey, do we have an issue? Is it a problem?" I mean, so again, these are things that are these are things that to be mindful of. And again, as the article was talking about, so again, Judge Mathis was brought up last week. So again, he talked about, why his wife left him. And he says at the bottom here, I'm here at the airport now, flying out as I have for 25 years. My wife has been third. Interesting. I've been serving the community, taping my show, having fun with friends. He said, never to be too busy or have too much fun beyond your wife. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Now, again, is that a grounds for divorce? Was he cheating? Was he abusive? Some people would say that's not a reason to divorce somebody because you're not necessarily paying attention to them, but it's not wise. People want to go to the Bible and quote, scriptures, unless a person's been, committing adultery or something like that, you shouldn't leave them and whatnot. And that's fine. But there's wisdom also. And again, if in fact you're spending more time on these things, your work, your friends or whatever, especially your friends, I mean, that almost seems like, because a lot of folks who would say poo-poo to that, I mean, if it was the woman going out with her girlfriends or whatnot, they would have a major problem with that if you're putting your girlfriends over your spouse. So why would it be the case the other way around? Like I said, my friends, they already know. It's like, look, if I'm with the missus or whatever, sorry, we knew when we got married, we knew that we weren't going to be hanging out to the same degree that we may get together maybe twice a year. Or lately it's been every time there's been a Marvel or DC movie comes out, we get together and we'll watch the movie and then we'll go to dinner or something like that and talk about it or whatever. And that's like a couple times a year. I mean, we're not doing this every week. I don't have poker night or some other thing, and we're not doing trips to Vegas together, and we're not doing all those kind of things. No, that's not what we do. But he's basically admitting that again, neglecting her is what arguably led to her filing for divorce. But from what I heard recently, that they're still together. So this first article was in September of 2024. This was from November 2024, and they're still together. And I guess he's still working on some things. So maybe the threat of divorce was such where he realized that, yeah, I need to work on some things and get some things together. So I know the article talks about, again, how to stop taking your spouse for granted. And I think these are things that are mostly just common sense. Again, communication. It sounds cliche, but again, it's important. If your needs aren't getting met, those I think need to be expressed, and I think you need to be willing to listen and make some adjustments if need be, if you want those needs, if those things need to be addressed. Establish boundaries. Okay, make it clear what you can tolerate and the things that are a no-no to you. But be firm in your boundaries and don't be afraid to enforce them. Again, but that to me, that gets the duties. Again, know your role and shut your mouth. I mean, that should be. There's certain things that, especially you've been together with your partner for a while, there's certain things we shouldn't talk about. There shouldn't be certain boundaries. But again, have the conversation, step one, so you can know what those boundaries are. Now, if you want to be foolish and cross those things because you think, oh, well, he or she's not going anywhere, I would say do that at your own peril. But you need to be able to, certainly be firm on, the stuff that you're going to take and the stuff that you're not going to take. Your expectations should be there and have those known well before you get into your relationship. Don't try to work them out later. Mm-hmm. Self-care is essential. It's vital to look after your own needs and well-being, especially at this time. Make sure you do things that put your self-care first. Now, again, you got to balance that also. Because we're talking about establishing boundaries and things of that nature. But again, how much of your self-care is going to matter towards the marriage situation? So again, self-care is important, but if it gets too much of a priority at the expense of the relationship, then again, you could be opening yourself up to problems. So I'm not saying don't take care of yourself, but again, just make sure you do things. And again, if your partner is away for some time, then yeah, doing things that you enjoy. In our situation, it's hers, mine, and ours. My wife hates Marvel for the most part. She doesn't like movie. She doesn't like a lot of stuff that she's in, and I can't stand Tyler Perry movies. And I definitely can't stand Hallmark movies. She watches Hallmark Channel. That stuff is like, it's like chalk on a board to me. So we don't get together to watch Hallmark movies, and more than likely she's not going to get together to watch a lot of the stuff that I watch. But then there's stuff that we do us. And as we talked about in the previous slide, those are things that are defined. Those things are well established. Mm-hmm. And so we don't try to cross those lines anymore. I mean, so again, I think those are good. Expressing gratitude, again, that should be a no-brainer. It doesn't matter how long you've been married. Always say thank you. Always say please. Just common sense. And then the last one,
people forget common sense sometimes.
Yeah, but they say common sense isn't common, but unfortunately, it gets there. Yeah. And then as far as the seeking professional advice, again, if you can, some people are not necessarily big believers in therapy or counseling or whatever, especially, who you choose to be your counselor certainly matters a lot.
I think that's kind of stupid, to be honest with you, Paul. What is wrong to get some counseling if your marriage is struggling that fucking bad?
Again, it depends on who. Like I said, a lot of it hinges on who you pick. Now, imagine you going into a marital counseling, but the counselor is siding with the wife, like 90-10. You feel like it's a 2 against 1 sort of thing. Are you going to feel good about going back? Or is that person going to call it down the middle as they see it? So again, I think who you pick matters in any counseling situation. Because you got people who have been in counseling for years. So yeah, I go to therapy, but you're not showing any progress. Are you getting better?
And that's the other part of the road.
Are you just showing up?
The road it's like a multiple 5-point road here. When you go to therapy, you have to listen to your therapist, obviously, together. You have to work on things at home. You have to work things separately, and you have to get more communication over time.
Yeah.
So it's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, relationships can often be complicated as well. So I mean, that's kind of where I want to kind of frame the conversation tonight. We got another 20 minutes in the show, so I don't want to drag this out too long. But finding that balance between taking someone for granted versus having expectations. And I think marriage, there's got to be some of that. Like I said, if I can't rely on my wife in certain matters, I don't see the need to be married to her. You know what I mean? And she told me like the exact same thing. It's like, man, what good is it if I know I can't rely on Paul to be on task on these certain things? That means that's more burden that I got to carry and I got to be on. So again, I find no issue with, I'm going to lean on her, and she definitely leans on me. And I see no issue with that. So yeah, she can take me for granted to an extent, just as I take her for granted to an extent. But again, the fact that we're still on the same page, the goal or the destination is the marriage.
Were you guys ever not on the same page?
Yeah. Like I said, the kids. I mean, like I said, it was a major that was a major thing where it's like, and like I said, part of it was my selfishness, but at the same time I felt how I felt. And then we were on the same page again when she went through different changes, when she went through menopause. I mean, that was another change. That affected our life in certain ways. But generally speaking, we've been on the same page when it comes to faith. We've been on the same page when it comes to just the idea of being and staying married. Finances, we've been pretty good at being on the same page, and she's kind of let me lead in that area when it comes to finances. The idea of us both working, because again, once my wife stayed home for almost 7 years before my youngest one got into school. So once she went back to work, when my youngest one enrolled, so we're both about the work, and just over time, we're both about whatever it takes, what needs to be done, because there's major decisions where the money, do we drop this money on this thing? Well, it doesn't need to be done. Yeah, it needs to be done. So therefore we do it. It's not a lot of there's not a lot of debating or wrestling there, especially with the big decisions. And she more than likely allows me to make the big decisions. I mean, it's like, yeah, whatever you roll with, I'm with you. We do this. And so that's really been, I think key to us, staying together. And it's gotten, like I said, it's gotten better over time. I mean, I think we're as good now as we've ever been. And this train isn't slowing down anytime soon. So being in a good place. But one more thing I want to ask you. Certainly, might be a totally different topic. Again, shout out to King and me. I admit I'm kind of stealing some of your some ideas for inspiration from your show. They talked about in their last show. They talked about jealousy, and like, do you think that jealousy is toxic? And that kind of conversation. Mm-hmm. I don't, to a degree. I mean, if my wife didn't get jealous, or if I wasn't jealous of her to an extent, I don't know what you got. I mean, yeah, that's my wife. That's my woman. And I have no issue with if we someplace and a woman tries to play for me or whatever, that's my man. I mean, to be possessive of one another. I think I think that's a good thing. I mean, yes, can jealousy get to the point where you get like, you don't want the person going anywhere, where you're going to see who you're talking to? And yeah, I mean, that can get, that's insecurity, I think. But if my wife wasn't kind of somewhat jealous of me, I don't know if I'd feel, I like being possessed. I like being someone's property. I do.
You're the only person I heard so far that says it's a good thing, because I'm not gonna deny I can get jealous at times. At one point, like, I felt very insecure when my woman went to a bar, and now I see why too. Still, because the other night my buddy was DJing again, and this girl was beyond drunk. She was all over every single guy coming through that door, and me being the nice guy, I ended up walking her. She only lived like 3 blocks away from the bar. So I walked her, and like, she goes, "I have a boyfriend." I'm like, "I know you have a boyfriend. I know who your boyfriend is." Like I don't know him that, like, oh, like I know you. I know of him. I know of her. There's locals. I see them around in town and stuff.
Right.
And like, that's why I never felt comfortable with my woman going to a bar and getting pissed drunk like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
now I see that, I'm like, that's why I don't let my woman go get drunk like that in public.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think, it can certainly get to a degree, like, if the person's like, they don't want you going anywhere, outside your presence and things of that nature, or they're so, the whole classic, oh, what you looking at? I tell people all the time, like, look, you can look at my wife all you want, because all that does is that kind of strokes my ego. Yeah, look at my wife. Yep. Yeah, she baddie. Yeah, she's a baddie. She's a tall Amazonian. She's almost 5'11". And yeah, she's all that. Yeah, look all you want to, but don't be coming over here. Now you come over here, we're gonna have a problem. So I'm gonna be jealous like that. Like, don't disrespect me in front of my wife. Don't be stepping to her, whatnot. But again, I don't get if someone, she says she goes to the gym, or someone in someplace, and they ask, hey, you see anybody like that? That's great for me. I'm like, it's like, yeah, I got somebody who's still desired in the marketplace. Hey, that's a win for me. So I guess my jealousy doesn't extend to that, but yeah, but as far as that sense of possessiveness, yeah, I she's my woman and I'm her man. And
but you guys been together for so long. It's like 5 lifetimes now these days. Being that long, even that long, you'll be lucky if you survive 5 years for somebody.
Right.
6 months is like a lifetime now these days.
Right. But I think we've always had that, though. You know what I mean? It's I guess it's just something that's just never kind of gotten away from us. But yeah, that idea of I'm gonna feel a certain way. It's like, yeah, you my wife. No, I don't want you going to the male review in Vegas. And I'm not going to strip clubs with the guys or whatever. It's like, no, I'm not I'm not going to put myself in situations where you would have to get jealous. So again, I think jealousy in a relationship, like I said, if she doesn't feel that sort of passionate, nah, he's mine. And all other women, you guys better back up. Now, hopefully what that does, now the problem I think where some people are is you say that, but you don't put the action or the work in place where, again, that doesn't become an issue.
Yeah, you don't.
You only react when there's somebody that is going to be challenging your position. So someone makes a pass at your guy and whatever, and be like, hey, and that now you want to get upset. But where was that zeal? We talked about one of the slides earlier. When you stop impressing somebody, when was the last time you dressed to impress? Where your man, his eyes are only on you. You know what I'm saying? So take some of that jealousy that you might be expressing in the aftermath of a situation, and be more proactive in that whole idea of keeping. I mean, the marital vows, to keep them in sickness and in health, rich and poor, and all that kind of stuff. What are you doing to keep your spouse? Not just to say, you get upset when someone makes a pass at your spouse, but you're not doing anything to keep them interested in you 100%. What are you doing fitness wise to stay in shape? I admit one of the things that, being in shape or lifting weights or training the way I train and whatnot. Yeah, I want to look good for my wife. Yeah, that is certainly something. Yes, I'm 6'3" and I just weighed myself. I'm almost 240 pounds, and you wouldn't notice it looking at me. And yeah, I want my wife to be like, man, she's got him. Yeah, that matters to me. Like I said, when I go out with her, I want to look good. I want to dress well, and yeah, that matters to me. When she says my man's, that's her thing now. My man's. And I want her constantly saying, yeah, that's my man's. Yeah, that matters.
That's fine. People forget about that sometimes, dude. Like, it's like, that's my woman, that's my man. Like, I know when I'm with any woman in a relationship, I don't do so. Hey, that is my girlfriend. That is, actually, I don't want to do it with my girlfriend. I'm like, and it's an end of story. And so they understand she has a title, and people say titles don't mean anything. I kind of think they do a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think so, Paul?
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So,
although some it's weird to me. It's like especially when you get to my age bracket or our Payne's age bracket, it sounds kind of child to say girlfriend and boyfriend at that. Can you be girlfriend and boyfriend in your 50s or 60s? I don't know. Find us something.
Actually, my neighbor, she's 63 and she has a boyfriend.
That sounds kind of, that sounds something when you're teenagers or whatever, or when you're younger like that. It sounds better, but I don't know. When you're in your 60s or whatever, it's like, yeah, this is my girlfriend, or what have you. I mean, there should be a more adult term to title the relationship that you have with somebody in that age bracket. But girlfriend's like, when you were 5 years old, it's like, you give the kid in class, you give them some candy or something. It's like, will you be my girlfriend? It kind of gives me that vibe sometimes. But jealousy, just overall, I think it's a healthy amount. I mean, even the Bible talks about God is a jealous God. I mean, if you go into a relationship with God, he certainly expects some things from us, and obviously we expect some things from him. So if my thing is, if God can be jealous, then I think we can be jealous also. The problem is, again, our jealousy isn't always manifested in positive ways. So like I said, we wait till there's a fire before we start acting in ways to demonstrate how jealous we are. I mean, but let that jealousy be something that fuels relationships. Soft spoken, say thank you and I love you and you're welcome, and be pleasant to be around, and impress them. I think those are positive things that you can do in a situation to make sure that the kind of things stay on point. But But yeah, I mean, we could certainly start to land the plane. And again, thanks to BMU for making this happen. And again, we just put this together literally today. But again, a lot of this show was certainly driven off of, and I didn't see her in the chat tonight, but shout out to Y School Podcast. Make sure you look her up and follow her, some of her content. I know she does a lot on social media, but she certainly helped to start this conversation tonight. And then again, Pete, when he was talking about his parents last week and in the topic of divorce, helped to certainly stimulate the topic tonight as well. And so I definitely want to thank the chat and certainly the Pete for being the inspiration for tonight's topic. But
I think my parents were trying to kill each other still these days.
I don't even sound right to say thank you guys for doing that, but it's certainly something. Certainly from an unfortunate situation, but let this be a lesson learned to those who don't want to be in that situation. I know you don't want to be in that situation when you get married.
Actually, it's funny you said that because every woman that I have dated, I first when first couple of days you're trying to talk to her, get to know each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I always bring this subject up, like I don't want to be like my parents. And they look at me like, why? Like they're miserable. I'm like, what? And I explain the story like I don't want to be in a sexual marriage. I don't want to be in a relationship that is ungrateful, unappreciative, and not even there. There were more roommates than anything. And when I break it down, the woman goes, "Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Why?"
Yeah.
And even my when I was seeing a therapist, even my therapist said at the time, like, you do have trauma from your father, how she treated your mom, and you don't ever realize it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, explains.
So, shout out to Lost in Translation in the build tonight. Appreciate you stopping through the show.
Finally.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we can certainly land the plane here. In good time. But any final thoughts as we wind down the show?
Remember to kiss your wife or woman or whatever, and just say thank you once in a while. Say hi. Walk by her and just slap the shit out of her ass because that's your woman.
I approve that message. Absolutely.
The president approves of it.
Yes, that's right. But yeah,
vice president now.
What's that? Yes, absolutely. I've been holding the position, and I can think of nobody more qualified than you to take on that vice position. So it would be an honor to have you.
I'm not bold. I just
president.
bust it down.
But it looks so much better though. It's like it looks very very handsome. Yeah.
There's funny stories behind this haircut right now, right?
Okay.
So Thursday night, I was bored. I was off Friday. I go, is the problem when I get bored? I do stuff on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking about going back to my old haircut like for a while now. And like I used to get a buzz cut.
Yeah. So the pictures, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was going to do that for a while. I'm like, I don't have the greatest buzzer for hair. For beard, my Brio is a beast. It goes through anything. It's literally number one beard trim. I go, I wonder if this will do my hair. I go, you're like, hey, it works. And I start going like, but you know when you miss a couple spots because you can't see.
Yeah.
I go, hey, Ma. And says, what the fuck you want? She goes to me, you know how my mom is by now.
Well, that's the relationship, yeah.
Yeah, come down. Like I was like, oh fuck, you're not gonna do what I think you're gonna do. Like, yep. You know, like they're like, Ma, I can't wait an hour. I need to do this shit now. I want to shower and everything. She goes, all right, fuck you. She goes to me. She goes, like she look like a fucking inmate. She goes to me. I hate that look. But I think she got so used to me having hair the way I had it for a while.
Yeah.
And it is a little cheaper too, let's be honest here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more cheaper than going to barber too.
Yeah. But like I said, I like the ball. Like I said, the buzz cut plus the beard. The beard is very sharp. It's very classy look with the beard. Also, it all works very well together. No joking around. I think it's you look very.
I had
handsome.
a couple compliments. If you saw the Facebook post I put,
yeah, I did. Yeah,
like I got a couple that said it looks better than me styling my hair. And, you know, I don't mind having a hair like that, but you know what it is? I wear hats all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And I don't like putting product in my hair. I mean, that's how you fuck your hair up. I'm going like,
yeah. And
that's why I've been thinking going back to like more like this kind of look. Maybe not this extreme, or growing it out back into my old man bun, but really want to do the man bun again. So that's even more work. Watching all that stuff. So
yeah, for real.
I like this for a while. We're still in the summer, dude. One thing, I forgot how cold it is in the morning when I get out of my car to go to drive almost like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, wow, it's kind of brick out here. I'm like today I got a hat with me.
Yeah. That's the difference. That's August. I mean, I say August is probably my favorite month of the year because again, the weather, the days are still pretty nice and warm, summery, but you don't have that heat and humidity in the nighttime. It starts to cool off. So again, you don't mind being outside, going to dinner outside and things like that. It's much more pleasant than June or July where you get that sticky heat. So definitely, August is definitely up there when it comes to that. But as we wind down the show, we want to thank everybody for being a part of the show and the conversation. I thank you for time again. I want to see you. Hope this Wednesday, certainly on the One-on-One Sports Show. And chop it up about the starting NFL season coming up. So definitely looking forward to talking about that. And I know the week afterwards, I know we got the big fight coming up with Crawford and Canelo. And so again, we're going to be chopping it up in the One-on-One Sports Show Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Black Men Unfiltered Network. But certainly we appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you hit the like button as you leave the show, as well as go hop over to the Sparta HQ Network. And make sure that you hit the like button there, show that channel also some love, and stay tuned for the channel lineups and the shows that are coming up on that in that space as well. But for myself,
whoa! You forgot about one thing.
What is that?
Comic-Con is coming around the corner. You're not gonna let our fans, our followers.
That's gonna yes. I mean that's in October. So we got
4 weeks almost away.
4 weeks? Okay, so then fine. It's 4 weeks. It's coming soon. But yes, we may even try to do some live content from Comic-Con. We're still working, so we got to get together and got to work out how we're gonna tackle that. But definitely, I'm looking forward to it. Last year was awesome, and looking forward to it. Just taking more in this year. But yeah, but we do some live. Look forward to some live content, especially on the Sparta HQ Network. We'll definitely be looking to post some live content there. But yeah, I'm definitely looking to embrace that, and we'll have a good time. But
yeah, we're definitely gonna have a blast. There are a lot of people this year going that I've been looking at the list. Some old school that you remember, a couple of Ghostbusters is going to be there this year. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ronnie MC is going to be there this year. He's been going the last couple of years, so I'm not too surprised on that one. There are a lot of big name actors are going this year. There's some really big name actors, but to just get their autograph is not the problem getting it. It's the price tag just to meet them behind that. But you can just go meet them. You have to get an autograph to meet them.
Right.
Like those big stars, trying to think of her name now. The Asian chick from Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., she's going to be there. And
okay.
Yeah,
I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but yeah, I know you talked about.
Yeah, her autograph is $185, bro. Yeah, I can get 4 or 5 autographs for that price.
Yeah, that's right. Very true.
So,
very true.
All right, let's close it down.
All right, let's get on out of here. But again, thank you guys once again for being part of this conversation. And again, what do you guys think? Do you take ones for granted? Have you felt you've been taken for granted? Continue to have the conversation in your spaces and let us know. We have a call-in show I think coming up in the next couple of weeks. I think we have a call-in show coming up, and so
I gotta check
next week. All right, so next week call-in show. So make sure that you be a part of that conversation. So any parts of this you guys want to go over, we'd be more than happy to carry on that conversation with you. But certainly for myself, Mr. Bennett, and he is the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Panayotis. This is the great area. Enjoy your Labor Day tomorrow. Hopefully some of you guys have some time off. Get that last grilling in for the season. And hopefully, certainly enjoy your day, enjoy your time. So until next time, you guys take care. God bless, and we will see you next time. Good night.
This is where you end it.
I'm trying. I'm looking for the trailer. It wasn't attached to the end, so I'm looking for it now. I hate when they do this. They always. Everything gets shoveled around when I come in here, so I'm just trying to get it now. Where is the outro? There we go. Boom. Good night.